Hello and welcome back to Drunkview. Last night we saw F9 Fast and Furious Saga, which is apparently the title now because the titles just keep getting worse and worse. What was the plot of F9?
F9 again stars Vin Diesel, who this time is having regret over the death of his father when his brother John Cena comes to town. John Cena is trying to steal a secret super weapon, and the lady with the bowl cut is working against John Cena, and there's some dictator that works with John Cena. Anyways, John Cena is evil because he accidentally sabotaged his dad's car, which was a car that blew up and killed Dom's dad. So Vin Diesel's really mad at John Cena and kicked him out. And then the Fast and the Furious gang are the only secret agents that can handle this mission because they're good at driving fast cars. And I don't know if they were picked in relation to the fact that it's Dom's brother. I don't believe so. I think that was
Kurt
just
Russell
a
picked them
coincidence.
because he worked with them in the previous movie.
Okay.
But he was too busy to be in this one.
Except for like 10 minutes. 2 minutes. So they come together and they drive cars. Ludacris goes to space. They have magnets. And John Cena becomes a good guy again. And then he's also like a bad guy though. And then Vin Diesel learns that nothing... Oh, and then the guy from Tokyo Drift is still alive. And then the cast of Tokyo Drift, including Little Bow Wow, shows up. And then for some reason, Vin Diesel's captured and Cardi B shows up with no explanation on how she took over as an Interpol agent. Anyways, yeah, that's basically the plot. A bunch of bullshit happens for 2.5 hours is the plot. So Aiden, what did you think of Fast 9, Fast and the Furious, F9, Fast 9, F9, Fast and the Furious Saga?
You know what this movie's missing is The Rock and Jason Statham.
Yeah, well, aren't they off fucking around?
Those two guys are fucking charismatic, and no one else in this shit pile is. They carried 7 and made it the best one, and now they've just been shoved off into the Hobbs and Shaw sub-series.
Well, John Cena could have worked as a charismatic fucking villain, because, like, he wasn't Bumblebee. He was kind of, like, funny, just as, like, a big, stupid asshole. I don't think John Cena's a horrible actor, don't get me wrong, but he can be funny.
Yeah.
And charismatic. At least he seemed like a good choice for the villain of this one, but they fucked up.
I think the part that makes Furious 7 so endearing is that it's played completely straight, despite how horrifically stupid it is.
See, but this movie's also played straight.
Is it?
They want it to be like a heart-pounding moment. They want it all to be
but
like
it's
heart-pounding. You're supposed to think that
it's played straight in a different way, where it's like they're trying to tell some stupid emotional story.
Yeah.
Instead of just having fun with being stupid. There's a lot of minor things to point out, and by minor I mean most of these are actually very major. First off, I don't understand the plot.
The plot is basically non-existent. I mean, there is a plot, but the plot is very secondary to set pieces.
Yeah.
I think it was a Mission Impossible situation where they said, let's come up with cool set pieces and then make the plot around it.
Yeah, but here it's like...
But just done really fucking shittily.
In Furious 7, they rocket launcher the back of a supercar that has a supercomputer built in it to launch it between the towers of the Burj Khalifa. And nobody makes jokes about it. And then the only cool thing that happens in this movie, the only fucking wacky thing that happens in this movie is Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson go to space. And the whole time they just make stupid fucking quips and
that's
chocolate
not true,
and fuck each other.
Fucking Vin Diesel hook shots his car. He fucking flies his car like Spider-Man. John Cena jumps off and gets magneted to a thing.
Yeah, but that's when the movie was fun at the start. They started off...
I thought the movie was obnoxious from the go.
So here's other things I noticed. Young Vin Diesel doesn't look a single thing like Vin Diesel.
No.
I know Vin Diesel has said in interviews that he doesn't know who his dad is, so it's possible that he's half black, which is very obviously not the case. And the man who plays his young version is like a 6.5 foot tall black man, and Vin Diesel's like a 4'11" Mexican.
Colombian or something.
They do not even look remotely the same. I was very confused at first because the movie expects you to know this is Vin Diesel, and they do not even the same ballpark. And sometimes they dub Vin Diesel's real voice over him, but sometimes they don't.
Well, I also don't buy John Cena at all as Vin Diesel's brother. The only
I was about to
trait
get to
is
that
they're
too.
both absolutely jacked. But that
I was about to land on that too. They have like a throwaway line about it, how there's like an Aryan strain in Vin Diesel's bloodline. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean.
No, they said like Norwegian or something.
Yeah, whatever. They could not look less similar as people.
Especially when they're younger. Like the younger versions,
The young John
before
Cena
when they were
looks kinda
both
like
not
John
supposed to be
Cena, but-
absolutely jacked. No, the young John Cena does look like John Cena, but then if you put the young and old version, the
it's
two
not
young
even
people
close.
against each other,
Yeah.
like young Vin Diesel and young John Cena, they don't look similar.
No, they
not
don't.
even remotely.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with the casting there.
Why wouldn't they just say like
Very
half
strange.
brothers and then just have like a white dad?
I don't know. I don't know why they...
Maybe their moms were different. Who knows? Whatever. It's
Yeah,
very
doesn't
strongly
matter.
implied they're just brothers. And as far as I know, I don't remember them ever mentioning he had a brother. Like I think they just
No.
made that shit up for this
Yes,
movie.
I believe so.
9 entries in, they mention.
Let's see. The magnet shit is stupid
They're obsessed
and needs to
doing
stop. Early on in the movie, the villain, John Cena, and the other guy used a magnet truck to create electrical interference and turn off security cameras. But these magnets are so powerful that sometimes they can pull cars through buildings on the other side of the road and flip giant military vehicles. But then also the sides of the car don't get crushed in like a soda can, the car that the magnets are in, and it just like works and doesn't work seemingly as convenient. And if it was just in the one scene, I wouldn't care, but after they're introduced, they're just like
the plot.
a central focus of every action scene going forward past that. The entirety of Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson going to space is horrible and stupid.
In a car.
Yes, they take a plane.
They take like a Fiat.
They have a fucking shitty car with a rocket engine on it, and then they go on a plane to the edge of space and then drive a car into space and break a satellite in half and somehow don't die. I also don't understand the John Cena redemption arc. Primarily, John Cena gets betrayed by the dictator's son guy, and then he punches the villain's guy, henchman, and then Vin Diesel kind of saves him, and then John Cena and Vin Diesel become friends again, and Vin Diesel's just a good guy and everyone trusts him and loves him, and they hug and he rides off into the sunset. It's very rushed and weird. They have like 2 interactions before that where they just talk about how much they want to fucking murder each other, and then they become friends because Vin Diesel watches John Cena get punched off the back of a super 40-wheel truck thing that flips over and slides 10 miles down a hill and off a cliff and into a drone because John Cena pulls the e-brake. How did they go from Furious 7 to this? Furious 7 was perfect.
Well, Furious 8
this
was
is just a disaster.
was just boring.
Furious 8 was middling.
Furious 8 was a little bit of a... Well, that's disappointing. But it wasn't...
It didn't live up to
awful.
Furious 7, but it was watchable. This is unwatchable.
Yeah.
So yeah. That about touches on everything that I had to say about it. Connor, what did you think of F9?
I think there's a solid chance this is going to be my least favorite movie of the year. Okay, so this movie's fucking horrible. It's like 2.5 hours long, and the whole thing is action. Like I said, it feels like they constructed set pieces, or they wrote and designed set pieces, and they kind of just filled in the blanks of the story, which has had hit and miss results in the Mission Impossible franchise. And I think Mission Impossible has more competent filmmakers
Yes.
than Fast and Furious tends to get, at least in terms of telling a story. Not that they're the kings of storytelling or anything, but I mean, they've had like Brian De Palma and J.J. Abrams and people that are at least competent storytellers.
J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams is a competent storyteller, but he makes it. He comes up with
He's
a bunch
never
of
written an
ideas and
ending.
hops out.
He's never written an ending, so
JJ
Gonna
makes
have to
some
dock
shit
some
up and
points
then
for that.
hops out. Like he made the first 2 Star Treks, and then he's
even
like,
his
"Yeah."
standalone movies don't have fucking endings.
Yeah, no, you're right, but I mean, obviously in comparison to whatever the fuck this was, this didn't have a story.
No.
At least J.J. Abrams can't make an ending, but at least he can make a story enough. You know, he can't end his story.
Yeah, I mean, 2/3 is better than 0. I
But
guess.
at least there's an overarching plot, not just car does vroom vroom for 2.5 hours. I will say one thing that was delightfully surprising is there was actually a handful of street races in this movie, which okay, full disclaimer, I've only seen Furious 7 and 8. I didn't even watch Hobbs and Shaw. So seeing this one, and this is the first time I've seen a Fast and the Furious movie that has a street race.
I've seen the first one. I've seen Tokyo Drift.
I mean, I've caught parts of ones on TV. I think I saw like part of part 5 on TV.
I've seen the one
and
with.
I've seen the first one on TV mostly.
I've seen the one with the safe and the train, which I think are 5 and 6. I've seen 7, 8, 9, and I saw Hobbs and Shaw. So I think I've only missed the second one. The second one
I
did
mean,
not
I
think I've
own
seen.
the collection on Vudu, so I'm ready to eventually do that marathon and probably make a video on it. But my point is, it was nice that the franchise, I think, because this director was the director of like Tokyo Drift and a bunch of other ones, number 5 and shit. So I think he wanted to return the franchise to its roots a little bit, while simultaneously taking the franchise so far from its roots with everything else in the movie, besides the like 3 street races that are included. And these street races are flashbacks. The main plot is just random fucking bullshit. Anyways, the characters are all incredibly invincible, which made it so hard to sit through 2.5 hours of action scenes. Like, there's a point at the start where Tyrese Gibson, like, slouches down and jogs as there's, like, 9 people shooting at him. Hundreds of bullets are flying off. He has no cover. He's in a field. And you can just see the bullets going, like, hitting the ground next to him. It's like, these are the worst shots in the history of filmmaking. And it's like, okay, so our characters are just fucking invincible. And then, ironically, later in the film, Tyrese Gibson's in space and says, I don't think we're going to make it out of this one. Maybe we're not invincible after all. This is the same man, granted, who 2 hours earlier was hanging upside down from a car, jumped out of the car, a landmine blew up from him point blank, and he said, good thing I didn't get hurt by that. So they're in space, and while his little speech is happening, it cuts away to Vin Diesel on the upside down semi-truck military thing, standing on top. It explodes, and Vin Diesel like dives onto the fucking pavement, going 90 miles per hour, doing like a fucking somersault roll, while Tyrese Gibson saying, looks like we're not invincible. And you're like, well, maybe Tyrese Gibson will at least die. But no, they get saved.
Don't forget the truck that Vin Diesel jumps off of, flies off a cliff and spirals and smashes a drone in half in midair that's shooting missiles.
That was the same shot that I was referring to. So it cuts while Tyrese Gibson's still saying we're not invincible. This is the cut. That is blatantly bad editing. That's bad storytelling. Because half this movie, all the dialogue is just shit. It's like I remember there's the scene where John Cena and the bitch with the bowl cuts fucking talking. And she's like, sometimes the world needs to be reset. And John Cena says, I'm really mad at my brother Dom. And then she says, I read your second year report card. That's what I do. I read report cards or something like that. And I'm like, this is terrible fucking dialogue. And then everything Vin Diesel spouts off is like, I was sad and I was angry, but family, and I loved my family, but maybe it's time to forgive, but it's unforgivable what John Cena has done. Oh. And then Tyrese Gibson's like, I'm not invincible, even though I've committed feats that are unbelievable to any human man. Also, it's so bad. And then it's 2.5 hours of action. Bro, there is... Oh my god.
The Asian guy
it gave me a fucking headache. I had
when the Asian guy from Tokyo Drift shows up...
They never explain how he survives.
Well, everyone acts like they know him, but I'm pretty sure...
He was in Furious 5.
Was he?
Yeah, it was little Bow Wow and the other two that weren't in the other movies.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the only reason I know this is because I clicked on the screen. I clicked on his IMDb. So they know him. I also like the end where they're like, there's one missing seat and Paul Walker's car pulls up and it's like, wow, everyone misses Paul Walker, the guy who married a 16-year-old that was the same age as his daughter. Yeah, it's a little...
Wow.
Nobody cares because he's not a fucking Harvey Weinstein, but Paul Walker was a bit of a creep himself. Yeah, I just thought it was fucking terrible. It was boring because it was non-stop action. I couldn't get into the emotional stakes because John Cena was a character they've made up in the 9th entry of the franchise. I'm still baffled. I think the most baffling scene is still the Cardi B one where the dictator's like, I called in a favor with Interpol, and Vin Diesel's arrested by Interpol, and then he's like sitting in the car, and Cardi B pulls off her mask, and she's like, oh, I'm Cardi B! And she starts talking about how Dom is family with her or something, and I'm like, Cardi B wasn't famous before Furious 7, and I have seen the movie since Furious 7, so I know Cardi B was made up on that spot.
I have no idea what was up with that.
She just showed up. So the question is, does she work for Interpol? And what type of paperwork would it be to be like, I'm arresting somebody at an embassy and then they just let them free? Or did she hijack the Interpol van?
I have trouble understanding Cardi B.
She showed up and then she was gone.
I have trouble understanding Cardi B, so maybe I didn't get it because it just sounds like screeching. But I'm pretty sure what she said was she was one of the models who was at the party who was for some reason pretending to be Interpol and had a truck or something. Cardi B is unintelligible.
No, but she's family with. She said we're family, yes. Vin Diesel. So
she also said
her and her friends went undercover to the party to back up Vin Diesel. But then when he called the favor to Interpol, did they beat up Interpol and then hijack the truck? Is that the implication? And stole the uniform like a fucking Scooby-Doo episode?
They might be Interpol agents who went undercover.
Who were friends with Vin Diesel, and even though they're agents of fucking Interpol, were able to just let Dom cash in a favor while they're on the clock or something?
Yes.
I didn't get it, and then she doesn't show up. Like, if Cardi B then became an important character, I would maybe say, okay. But that was clearly just because, let's face it, the audience for Fast and the Furious, retarded people, are gonna like Cardi B. That's what they figured, so they threw her in like she's Stan Lee or something. But she's not a character who's done anything. The scene made no sense. They just had to figure out how to get Vin Diesel out of the situation. And you know what would have been 100 times better, even though it also wouldn't have made sense, but I wouldn't have really questioned it based on the internal logic of these Fast and the Furious movies? Just have him, like, punch John Cena and dive out the window. Just have him punch John Cena, dive out the window, and keep going.
Shouldn't have Jason Statham and The Rock come
Or
in
just
and
cut
save him?
away, and the audience will be too stupid to realize that there's no good reason that he got out of that situation. Like, it doesn't matter, because they just cut away and Cardi B
The
was
Rock
gone.
save him and make the only good scene in the movie.
Yeah, you would
And then
think.
leave or something.
They're busy doing Hobbs and Shaw. It's part of the expanded universe of Fast and the Furious. Why couldn't they just race cars? Like, who cares about all this bullshit? Just
Okay, there's only 2 more Fast and the Furious movies left.
I thought they were ending at 10.
Yeah, 10's in 2 parts, so it's 10 and 11.
Wait, so no, I think this was part 1, kind of.
No.
So 10 is 2
There's
parts.
2 more
so they
after
shot.
this.
So they shot 9 and then both parts of 10 simultaneously, because 10 comes
don't
out next
know.
year. 10 comes out next year because they shot it at the same time as 9.
I don't know, but I think 11 is the last one.
Why did they shoot them at the same time?
Except Hobbs and Shaw. It's Hobbs and Shaw.
There's no way they actually end the franchise. I'm calling bullshit. Maybe Vin Diesel's done, but they're gonna find a way. They'll find a way. Maybe
Yeah.
Cardi B. Maybe that was what they were setting up.
They'll just give Tyrese Gibson more to do. He's the only one who couldn't get anything better going on. I guess Ludacris too. It can just be the Ludacris and Tyrese show.
I'm shocked they haven't gotten a spin-off yet, honestly, because they're kind of like the 2 characters that go off and just do random bullshit. Or they'll just make Hans have his own Fast and the Furious franchise. Honestly, what they should do is they should just say, let's make Fast and the Furious 12 with different people and actually make it about street racing. Because I think that would have been more interesting than just they fight generic guy and the story is muddled in 2.5 hours. And the fact that Vin Diesel was like, yeah, this movie might be 3.5 hours long. Excuse me? You already wasted 2.5 hours of my time and it made no sense. Maybe there's an extra hour just explaining it all.
Yeah,
And they just had to clumsily
that's
cut
probably
around
what
it.
happened with the Cardi B thing, you know? Like, they had cut the first Cardi B scene for time, but they were contractually obligated to include her somewhere.
You know what wouldn't shock me? If the studio said, whoa, Vin Diesel comes and he's like, ha, my movie's 4 hours long. And he like shakes his head and nods, and then they're like, you're going to have to cut this down.
Release the
And then he's
Snyder
like,
Cut.
but we can't cut down any of these vehicle scenes. And they said, oh no, we wouldn't expect you to. Just cut down the plot so it makes no sense.
The Diesel
This
cut.
is the worst movie by far that I've
Release the
seen this
Diesel
year.
cut.
I thought The Conjuring was pretty bad, but it was like an expected bad, and I don't really like the genre. But this was just unbelievable.
Hashtag release the Diesel cut.
Dude, the Snyder Cut just at the year-end rank, Snyder Cut, congratulations, you climbed up an extra rank.
No, the Snyder cut is worse.
You're shitting.
No, I'm not.
You're shitting on me.
I
will defend the Snyder Cut.
Here's the thing.
What is about the
This
Snyder
movie only wasted 2 hours of our time.
Cut? 2.5.
This
2.5 was
Justice
too long.
League as a whole.
An extra hour and a half. There's
the
something
Justice
of a
League-
coherent story.
The Justice League as a whole has wasted 6.5 hours of my life, and that's before.
Okay, but I can't
That's
count
before
the
including the
original cut.
entire DCEU. In which case, the DCEU movies have easily wasted 24 hours of my life.
No, don't get me wrong. The Snyder Cut's awful, but and yeah, it wasted a lot of my time. I'm not elevating it high, but this movie was nothing for 2.5 hours. It made no sense. It was all action. There wasn't a fucking story.
Snyder Cut was
This
that
is
for
not a
4
movie.
hours.
This is a series. This is a sequence of scenes. This movie made no sense. This movie is literally unfinished. It's garbage beyond belief.
It's very bad.
It's
I'm
like
not arguing with
I
that.
can't even describe
bad.
this movie. I can't describe
bad.
this movie.
But
it's worse than the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut is bad.
This has more story than the Snyder Cut.
The Snyder
Cut
more
has-
story doesn't matter when at least the Snyder Cut story makes sense.
No, it does not. It
What
literally
doesn't
does
make
not.
sense about it?
Like, why
Guy
should give a
comes-
fuck about Wrinkly Ballsack Man touching the fucking space cubes?
I don't care about Wrinkly Ballsack Man, but at least because the space cubes will destroy the Earth if he gets them all. It's the same shit as a Marvel plot, really.
Yeah,
But this
John
movie-
Cena will destroy the Earth with the triangle
With what?
wall thing that turns off computers.
No,
or
that's
something.
a landmine thing, but also the
No,
thing,
it is not a
in
landmine
half
thing.
it's a landmine.
No,
Because remember, he throws one at the guy, and the guy like
no,
barely
that was
blows up.
that was a landmine.
That looked the same as the MacGuffin?
Yes, that was just like a.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Nothing makes fucking sense in this movie. It's just a bunch of shit.
Because the MacGuffin was still on the truck when it flipped, and he had to pull it out.
This movie...
But then he threw
Michael,
it off the car.
Dude, all 5 of Michael Bay's Transformers have better plots than this. There are plots in those movies. This movie has no fucking plot.
John Cena.
This movie does not
John
have a
Cena's-
plot.
John Cena's gonna turn off the computer.
They take a
all.
spaceship to fucking space, and it's 2.5 hours. If this movie was an hour and a half, there would be an argument for the Snyder Cut. But if I had to look at the grueling torture, I thought it was torturous watching the Snyder Cut. But I would do it again before watching this.
Okay,
this
consider the
movie
following.
was fucking torture, and every moment from the first second to the
Okay,
last
consider
second,
the following.
I couldn't tell plot progression.
Consider the following.
So it felt like fucking purgatory, bro. Because everything was just the same. It was just cars blowing up, cars doing flips. This movie was awful.
Consider the
I got the
following.
worst migraine. Okay, I'm considering.
F9 is not in 4-3.
That's a point, but if it was in 4-3, at least I could look at the black to try to keep away from having epileptic seizures.
It's not in black or white either.
Zack Snyder's very pretentious. I mean, the black and white, I would dock it a lot if it was forced to be in black and white. The fact that they made a black and white version is, oh, Zack, you're being pretentious.
It's cringe.
But the fact that you don't have to watch it in that form is better. What would have been better is if I could watch a 16:9 version.
It would have been better if Zack Snyder was not a fucking lunatic.
I just like it. It's the argument of length. I mean, if the movies were both the same length, the Snyder Cut would win 100. Is 10 times better. It's not a good movie, but it's 10 times better than this. But the fact that the only thing I will give is that the length is, yeah, the length's a lot. I wasn't a big fan of the length of this film or the Snyder Cut. But this film felt like it dragged. It dragged hard. I don't know. We might just have to do a tie if you're not going to budge on it, because I won't budge. This movie to me isn't even in the same ballpark. It's not even in the same baseball field as fucking Zack Snyder. I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is a far better movie. I think it's absolute dog shit, but I think it's a far better movie. I think it would be unfair.
Snyder Cut.
It would be I would be a hater to say
The
Zack
Snyder
Snyder's
Cut
better.
loses extra points just based on the fact
Oh,
that
it has a lot of baffling moves. It has a
Oh,
lot
I'm
of
not
bad
talking.
moves, baffling moves. It's trash, but it's not as bad as this. If this movie was funny, I would love it. If the speed of this movie having no story, if it was bombastic fun, but it's not fun. There's nothing to grip
I need
onto.
to stop with the serious plots. It's fucking stupid.
There wasn't a plot.
Well, you know what I meant. The forced.
They
trying to be
they
emotional.
throw a couple forced emotional parts in there, but there's no plot. I thought this was. I'm not budging. I think this is far worse than the Snyder Cut. Far worse. Miles worse than the Snyder Cut.
No. No. I'm
What do you
sorry.
mean no? I don't understand. I don't see your point. I don't see. And I sound like a
The
Snyder
Snyder-
defender.
the
It sounds like
Snyder
you're
Cut-
trying to
the Snyder
convince
Cut-
me the Snyder Cut's bad. Like I'm one of those people on
The
Twitter
Snyder
that's like, this
Cut-
is the new Seven Samurai. But
The
that's
Snyder
not what I'm
Cut-
saying. I think the Snyder Cut's terrible. I
The
just think
Snyder-
this is worlds more terrible.
The Snyder Cut, its horribleness extends past itself. It extends to the past version of Justice League. It extends to every terrible
I would
DCU
rather watch
movie.
There isn't a single DCEU movie I'd rather not. I'd pick
Suicide
this
Squad.
over. Suicide Squad's better than Birds of Prey, and I'd rather watch Birds of Prey than this piece of shit. Yep.
That's a lie.
I genuinely thought this was probably the worst movie I've seen in years.
Batman vs Superman Extended. 3.5 hours.
Easily rather watch that.
You're
No,
right.
it ends up being 2 hours and 55 minutes, which is only 20 minutes shorter than this.
Anyway, Connor, would you recommend this movie?
No. Aiden, would you recommend?
No.